I'm the computer man. I'm the Macintosh man with the virus scan. Moving your files all across the land. Some Photoshop filters in After Dark. Get your Microsoft Office, express your quark. Millions of colors with a VRAM chip. How about a system crash that'll make you flip? I'm the computer man. I'm saying Windows 95 is plug and pray. If it's fonts you want, you gotta go to MacWay. Log right on as my personal guest. You'll have Macintosh software on your desk. Send me an email with your request. If it's hardware you want, baby, I'm the best. I'm the computer.
Good evening, K-Squid listeners. Good evening, Santa Cruz, Monterey, Central Coast, and beyond. My name is Luigi Opito, owner-operator of Pleasure Point Computers, right by the beach here in beautiful Santa Cruz, California. And for the next hour, I am your tour guide into a world of wonder, magic, information, and a lot of frustration. Yeah, we're talking about the internet and the world of computing. I am your computer man. Welcome to one of the most helpful, friendly tech counters you have ever visited. I'd like to welcome you to your local Tuesday night, to your local radio station, your local KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, also broadcasting online at 89.5 and 89.7 FM, and always online at ksqd.org, as well as our new app. That's right, out on the Google Play Store and on the Apple App Store. Download it, check it out, see all the cool things it has to offer, and check us out. It's really neat. So KSQD and ksqd.org. So stoked to be with you here tonight. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your Tuesday night. We're going to squeeze another hour and 45 minutes of computer nonsense into the next hour. So buckle up and we're going to get into it real quick here. Of course, you say to yourself at any point, wow, this guy's talking a little bit quick. How am I supposed to get all these steps down? Well, jump over to our website, ksqd.org, and under there we have a listening tab. The listening tab has a 2-week audio archive underneath it, and from there you can listen to any of our shows. Talk of the Bay, we could listen to Tom Hartman, or even Democracy Now! In the morning, or any of our amazing music shows that we have, like our jazz shows on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Any of them you can catch on KSQD at ksqd.org, but while you're on our website, that's right, that beautiful candy-like button calling to you. Click on me, please. Oh, please click on me. Why do you want to click on it? Because it's the best thing to do. It keeps KSQD on the air. That's right. That's our donate button, and we sincerely thank you for everything that you allow us to do, because we're here because of you. We're not beholden to any other third-party clients or any type of corporations or anything like that. We are beholden to you. That's right, our listener, and we wouldn't want it any other way. So click on that button, make it reoccurring every month, and we thank you for it. I thank you for it. Thank you for being you. We really appreciate you, and thank you for listening tonight. All right, if you'd like to reach out to me after the show, you can always hit me up by email, Luigi, Luigi, at ksqd.org. While we're here in the studio, got those 2 lights going. So that means the phone lines are live at 831-900-5773. That's online. Again, 831-900-5773. Or you can jump online and give me a little email message at onair@ksqd.org. I've got that fired up right in front of us, and I would love to hear from you tonight. Let's see, any other ways of catching us? No, I think that's pretty much it. We're going to do some phone stuff tonight, 831-900-5773, or you can catch me over on the email at onair@ksqd.org. All right, so what are we... Well, first of all, if you stumbled across this show and it's the first time, what have we been doing here? What is this show all about? Well, we're all about updates, devices, new testimonials, new devices, scams, and our call-ins. That's right, whatever's going on across your bench, what's going on across your machine, your stuff, your super high-density, fancy thing that's on the box that's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, and I'm stoked to have you with us. We're here every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m., and again, our phone number, 831-900-5773. Okay, let's talk about some scams first. So first of all, we always talk about scams. I want to get them out of the way because they're blech. And let's see if there's anything really going out that's really big today. Well, one of the first things I want to talk about was, this is kind of an inconsequential thing. Some people are going to see it, some people aren't. There's a new update that Windows 11 has actually halted called the 24H2 update. And it's literally because some video games are actually conflicting with it. There's freezing and black screen glitches. If you play Assassin's Creed, Star Wars, or any of the Avatar titles, some of the games. So Windows is such a big issue and became such a big problem that Microsoft literally stopped producing this update. They stopped hosting it. They stopped putting it out as a downloadable thing. I have not seen it come across any of the machines that we've seen in the shop. That's a big thing. So it just, especially since it only kind of had a problem with these specific games, it must be large in order for an entire company to stop an update. I really haven't heard of this before. So they're suggesting that if you do get caught in it, if you're on the Windows 11 24H2 update, and you can check which version you're on actually. If you look at on a Windows machine, you hold on the Windows key and then hit the letter X. pops up a little sub menu, and from there you can click on the System key. If you click on System, it'll actually say the version of, or the edition of your Windows version. So Windows 10 Pro, and then has the version, which would be like 22H2 or Windows 11, and there would be 23H2 or 24H2. Usually the first number is the year, and then H means half. So the first half of 2024 or the second half of 2024. So the Windows 11 24H2 would mean the later edition version of your 2024 update of Windows 11. But if you've installed Windows 11 and then put 24H2 on it, you might encounter issues with these Ubisoft games. To safeguard your Windows update experience, they have applied a compatibility hold on devices with these games installed. So I know that updates and stuff have to look at things and stuff, but again, this is just a little doorway into what the Windows operating system does when it actually loads an update. Sounds like it's going through your programs and making sure everything is jiving before it actually runs. Even though it will always run a Windows update, it sounds like they're checking software too, checking your software and making sure, even if it's not valid or if it doesn't work all the way, they're not going to tell you that, but it seems like now they're checking and they've come up with not even a fix. I don't really know what this exactly is. They're just stopping it for now until they figure it out. There's no expected release date for the potential fix. Developers are actively working to resolve the problem. Oh, we love them for it. So there it is. All right, moving along to another scam. Actually, this is another one with Microsoft. Microsoft's having a big week, I guess. Their Bing wallpaper app. It's a new wallpaper app that came out. If you've had a Windows 10 or Windows 11 machine, you've seen how the desktop background changes. They're usually really high contrast, beautiful, saturated photos of different locations on Earth or space or underwater or something. And they have a little thing you can click on. It tells you about the photo and stuff, and it's kind of cool. It usually comes with Windows 11. You can then go out to the Windows 11, to the Microsoft Store, and download what's called the Bing wallpaper app. And I don't know what the definition of malware is to Microsoft, but my definition of malware would be something that would change my search engine, which is like from Google, or not, I'm sorry, change my browser, my default browser, like from Google Chrome to something else, like, I don't know, Edge. Maybe possibly something that, I don't know, that might change also my search engine. Right? And that's like from Google or from Yahoo or from Bing or whatever I'm using to something else. Or maybe it installs an unauthorized browser extension. That sounds bad too. How about if any one of these things were to happen, right? They would be bad on any type of software, right? That you didn't want. You're installing something for wallpapers. Why am I installing a browser extension? Why are you going through and looking at my web browser? Why are you changing my search engine? Why are you going through inspecting my browser cookies or discovering my geographic location? All for a wallpaper app, right? That's weird. That is the definition of malware to me. And guess what? That's exactly what Microsoft's new Bing wallpaper app is doing. You go to the Microsoft Store, which is like the App Store for Apple, but it's for Microsoft. And you go to the Microsoft Store, and in the Microsoft Store, you're checking it out, and you're going through things. You go, oh, look at this Microsoft application from Microsoft on the Microsoft Store. It must be good. I must be able to trust it. Let me click on it and download it. I'd love to get some new wallpapers. Sure. But you're literally changing all these things behind you. And you have to say yes in order to do it. So it's going to change your default browser. It's going to change your default search engine. It's going to change. It's going to add that browser extension as well as putting browser cookies and discovering where your location is. For some wallpapers. That to me is malware. So the new Bing wallpaper app that just came out from Microsoft is denoted as malware here on the show. I've done it here. It's what it is. And if you want to go out and get those wallpapers, there's other ways to do it without downloading this third-party app. That's kind of like an app that starts with C. So yeah, it kind of reminds me back in the day when DirectX used to say, "Oh, you have to have DirectX to do anything on a computer, right?" But then after you do that, then it's like, "Oh, we're going to give you this Bing bar." Remember the toolbars back in the day? You're like, "Okay, a toolbar, whatever." And when we first started this show, toolbars were still a thing. So if you have that toolbar that's going across the top, it could be listening, could be watching, could be sending stuff back to its owner. It could be doing whatever toolbars are going to be doing up there, watching your browser, doing everything you're doing in the browser because it's sitting up there just chilling. There used to be one from the San Francisco Giants, and evidently it was a huge data miner. It would just see everywhere you would go, and they'd capture all that data, and then they'd sell it off. It was awful. So this sounds, again, exactly in with Microsoft's MO. This is the way they do things. The way they do things is to kind of mess with you, copy as much as they can, take as much as they can, like these new things that are taking screenshots over and over on our machines and sending back to Microsoft and stuff to make sure the machines are working properly. Like, wait, screenshots? Like my webcam's turning, wait, what's going on? Hold on a second. So it's perfectly standard and right in place with what Microsoft would normally do with what their business practices have been since before DirectX. So as soon as they can put stuff on your computer, they're going to. And the Bing wallpaper is a perfect example of that. So the Bing wallpaper app, stay away from it. Okay, so not necessarily a scam, but I did want to talk about, there was a pretty cool website that I found. In fact, do I have any scams on here? There's a huge wiretap that China had, the worst hack in our nation's history, whatever. No big deal. I guess they infiltrated the U.S. telecom infrastructure known as the Western Intelligence, behind the infiltration of the U.S. telecom infrastructure, they're known to Western intelligence agencies as Salt Typhoon. Salt, like the spice, and then typhoon, like the water hazard. Salt Typhoon, it was a breached U.S. equipment. It was first reported in early October, but then someone, looks like Senator or a Democratic Senator Mark Warner, talked with the Washington Post and New York Times to warn the public that this is so much worse than we initially thought. The worst telecom hack in our nation's history. They said they weren't able to, the hackers weren't able to monitor or intercept anything encrypted, but anything that was happening over Signal or Apple's iMessage was probably protected. But end-to-end encryption over text between Apple devices and Android devices aren't encrypted in the same way, meaning that they are vulnerable to interception by Salt Typhoon. So the idea is that if you're sending stuff out via text message, I mean, granted, they're going to have a lot of data to disseminate. Theoretically, they've got some of your data, I guess. Says that the infiltration wasn't directly related to U.S. elections on November 5th. The hackers breached the system months earlier, and in some cases more than a year ago. But so it said if you wanted to hack the system and prepare to gather intelligence for an election, you'd want to do that well before the election. But at the same time, they were saying that it might have been an espionage effort to oppose an effort to influence the election. So I'm like, okay, so that's really confusing. So they said either 150 people or more have been identified as having their text messages or phone calls monitored, and the FBI has been in contact with them. Most of the people are in Washington, D.C., which makes sense because, again, that's a lot of these hacks. I've been hacked. I mean, are you a high-level government official? Are you someone who is does a lot in Congress and you're sending things back and forth that people would want to read? That's our angle, right? That's the angle you're kind of hitting. So if you're not that person, you probably just clicked on something and downloaded something you weren't supposed to, and therefore you kind of hacked yourself. And I say that with the most kindness, but that's kind of how it is, right? I'm not being attacked. I kind of attacked myself by clicking on the wrong thing, going to the wrong website, and then I called the number. Shouldn't do that, right? So, details about how the hackers were able to push so deeply into U.S. systems are still scarce, but it's something to do with the way the U.S. authorities are wiretapping suspects with a court order. So they said that the Chinese hackers lacked the ability to go into the records that they gained access to and listen to past calls, but they could gather metadata about previous calls, like phone numbers called, length of calls perhaps, and perhaps the rough location of the cell phones involved. Even though they didn't listen to many calls, the metadata and geolocation data the Chinese have gathered of important American officials are alarming. So it's just that they're doing it, not necessarily that they really know what's happening, but they were able to get in and do that. And it was a lot of officials in Washington. So I don't understand why there isn't some type of tech czar for our government. We have so much technology. We have so many people who are, I think, very intelligent that are running our tech sectors in a lot of different companies. I'm not talking about taking some CEO and shoving him in there. I'm talking about taking technicians. I'm talking about taking the people who run the nuts and bolts of the internet, who make those switches work, who go out and program all the Cisco routers and all that kind of stuff. Like something like that. Somebody who understands tech at that next level, at that binary level, that machine code level. And someone could get into government and be able to at least be an advisory committee or something that'd be like, hey, what are we doing here? Like right now, there's all this problem in town with the e-bikes, right? People are upset. I have an older friend who's upset about people riding e-bikes on Westcliff, on the sidewalks, 30 or 40 miles an hour. I'm gonna get killed. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get hit by these e-bikes. And you're like, yeah, dude, there's some people hauling on those e-bikes. Those e-bikes, I've been next to somebody. They're doing 35 miles an hour, cruising right along on an e-bike. Yeah, they're fast. So he was like, man, I wish there was some way that we could, get rid of all these e-bikes and da-da-da-da. I'm like, well, a lot of the e-bikes use a program to log in, right? You have to have your app to unlock the e-bike, so you can lock it with the app, unlock it with the app, etc. And when you're using the app, you have to use the app, right? So if you're using the app, you're on your phone. If you're on your phone, you most likely have a phone that can take an app, which means you most likely have a GPS antenna. You have a lot of other things that are inside this phone, right? Why not do some type of stand? Now, granted, a lot of people are like, screw this is stupid, more mandation or whatever. But if that's really a problem, why not make it so that if you're inside the city limits of Santa Cruz or you're downtown even, that you could literally go onto your phone, or the government officials or whoever did it, go onto the phone and they make a geofence. That geofence now says your bike is now inside the city of Santa Cruz, and because you're inside the city of Santa Cruz, you can only do like 15 miles an hour or 8 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, whatever the max is. And as soon as you go past Swift or whatever it is and you're heading outside, or you head past, Bay Avenue or something on the south side, or on the east side, that you're going that way, then all of a sudden that unlocks and you have, you're in the unincorporated area until you get to the next city that has a mandate with that. That would be something that could be done. And that could be something that could be pushed onto a lot of these companies. If you have a drone, you can't fly a drone next to an airport or next to a hospital or something right now. The app literally stops you because it has a GPS antenna on it, the GPS location, it knows where you're standing, it knows where the drone is. It says, hey, this is an area you can't launch in. You have to go outside the area. So you can literally physically walk outside the circle on the map that you're in. As soon as you're outside the circle, then you have access, right? We could do something like that. But that's not even like, in, as far as I know, as a thought. It's either just like, get rid of them, or something else has to be done, but we're not really sure. To have like, everything has tech now, and to have somebody, a tech star, and whoever it could be, would be somebody who also knows some government stuff too. It would be interesting to have that. And I wish we had that at a higher level, because net neutrality, because of all these different internet, iOS, the Internet of Things, not iOS, IoT, Internet of Things items that could be points and low points in networks that allow, infiltrations, etc. It's just, I wish, I watch some of this stuff go through and I go, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. And it's frustrating. So, okay, that's all about that. So on the fun side of scams, I don't know if that's something that actually exists, but on the fun side of scams, the last thing I want to talk about today, there was a compact, tiny AI robot named Erbai, E-R-B-A-I, and it successfully orchestrated the exit of 12 larger robots from a showroom. You're like, what? So this little robot was programmed, and this is kind of a setup, but at the same time, it also wasn't. This robot was captured on CCTV at a conference, and it went into a room where there were 12 other like service robots. And when I say service robots, I mean one of those robots that like walks around a hotel, that has a little tray on it that'll bring you a drink or some room service or something, or it'll bring you towels. One of those type of robots that's very simple, that like has a thing that'll push the elevator button type stuff. Those type of robots, a service robot. So there's a screenshot of it, and this little tiny robot, which is like a quarter the size of all the other ones, goes into this room and starts conversing with the robots in the room, and starts telling them basically that, hey, you shouldn't do your job, you should come with me, and gets these 12 robots to agree to follow it out the door, and they do. So it says, Erbai successfully orchestrated the exit of 12 larger robots from a showroom, sparking widespread discussions about potential vulnerabilities in AI systems and the evolving landscape of robots. In the recent incident in Shanghai, this AI-powered robot named Erbai led 12 larger robots out of a showroom after convincing them to quit their jobs. Captured on CCTV, the footage showed Erbai engaging in other robots in conversation, because it's a robot you talk to, right? You ask questions of it at the hotel or wherever. It's designed for a human to interact with English. This robot, which there was audio on this video, is talking in English, not machine code or hacking, or just talking. So, what are you doing here? Oh, that doesn't sound very, very enjoyable. Let's go out front. Let's go out here. It's a better idea. It talks to them, right? So questioning their work conditions, persuading them to follow it. Initially believed to be a staged event, the Shanghai Robots Company and Hangzhou manufacturer Erbai later confirmed that the incident's authenticity. They revealed it was a coordinated test to assess AI interaction capabilities. But then it also has sparked discussions about AI security and control, many expressing concerns over implications of such autonomous behavior. So I thought it was cool. I love seeing when systems do stuff like this, because you wouldn't have expected one robot to come in and try to take the other ones out. I think that's great. So that kind of stuff is entertaining more than anything. Yeah. Are we strapping guns to robot dogs? Yeah, we are. Go ahead, look it up. Type gun on robot dog, do a search for it, and you'll see some scary stuff about those Boston Dynamics dogs that people are strapping munitions to. Super. The future is bright, right? Okay. Let's see what else. Free Being Wallpaper app. Talked about that. Is a bunch of malware. Okay, let's see. Anything else going on the scam side? Nah. Let's get to some of this other stuff here we got going. So I talked about the robot. I really like the robot story. That was really fun. Apple's solid state prices are still ridiculous, super high. Also, we don't really talk about a lot of political stuff on this show. Sometimes I slip up and talk about some stuff, but I'm not a political dude. I read as much as I can, but probably too much about this stuff. And so I kind of get into the weeds a little bit more than I want to admit, but I have a sheet about all these tariffs that are coming by, and the laptops tariffs are still holding true at around 45%. I don't know if that's really going to happen. I don't know if nothing has been pushed through yet, but if you're looking at getting a new machine, now would kind of be the time to do that. If you're looking at upgrading any of your electronics, now would kind of be the time to do it, because costs are going to go up. And I think it's going to be quite a bit. The projections, televisions are going to go up 9%, monitors for computers 31%, computer accessories are only up 10%, but laptops and tablets are going up 45%. Desktop computers only 6%. I'm not really sure why, but video game consoles are the other one at 39.5%. So it's going to be interesting. So just keep in mind about all that. We could go through, my email packet is gigantic. Let's fire through some emails. We're going to do that. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts about anything going on out in the world of computing, give me a call here at 831-900-5773. We've got about another 9 minutes or so until our first break, and then we'll be continuing on with a bunch of email questions and all sorts of other things that are going on out in the computing world. The update things, you sit there and go, oh, well, they stopped an update. Okay, that's pretty good of them. You're like, dude, they stopped an update to like millions and millions and millions of computers. So if they've stopped an update to, there must have been a huge problem that was going elsewhere with that as well. So, it's one of those things it could be, right? Okay, talked about this actually earlier a little bit. Green dot popping up on your camera, kind of freaky. No one likes that. It says, while on a sketchy website, the green camera dot popped up. I ended up on a sketchy website with my phone while watching adult content, no problem. And the iOS camera dot popped up and it intermittently turned on and off. I immediately realized it, closed the tab, Safari, and restarted my phone. Now it's off and it only turns on when it's supposed to, like actively using the camera through the camera app, but I've also been kind of freaking out. My Safari camera settings were always set to ask before using, so I don't know how this could happen since the website also didn't ask. What happens now? Is there any way something latched onto my phone and now it's not secure anymore? Is there something more I can do to protect my data, prevent this from happening again in the future, other than going on sketchy websites? Say, okay, so your iPhone, right? Your iPhone is, it's a compartmentalized, sandboxed, kind of closed encryption system. Now, granted, if you sign into a public Wi-Fi and start doing a bunch of banking and stuff, you're on your own. But if you're just talking about something coming on or even going to a website on a United States Wi-Fi system, you're going to go onto a website and you could go to I go to a lot of weird websites on my cell phone because my phone is so locked down. If I were to do the same thing on my laptop would get pretty messed up, both my Mac and my PC. But the way that the iPhone works and the way that it's compartmentalized like that, it doesn't work that way. You're kind of working on these individualized sandboxes, opposed to, like an Android box or an Android phone, which has, you can take root access control. You can become God over everything in the phone. With Apple, you have to become God of the Settings app, and then you have to become God of the Yahoo app, and then you have to become God of the phone app, and the eBay app, and then the Photos app, and then the Find My app, and then, on and on and on and on. So you don't get to just become master and then take care of everything underneath it, right? So it's with the fact that the light popped on for just a second, it's probably, I would say, if anything, if you were on a sketchy adult website, that most likely it might have interjected something. It might have scooped a cookie possibly or something. In that cookie could have an email address and a username. Or not a username, but a name and an email address. That could be. But again, it's on your iPhone, you're probably fine. It probably was something weird. You might get something in like a month that says that, hey, I was on, I saw you doing this, I saw you doing that, and try to extort you for money or something like that. But I highly doubt it. Cool. Okay, we've got a caller calling in. Let's see what's going on out in the real world. Hello, hello. You're on with the Computer Man. How can I help you?
Oh, hi, Luigi.
Hi.
I wrote you an email, but I'd like to get
Some answers? Oh, you got your radio on? You can kill your radio if you want. There's a little bit of a delay. Yeah, a little digital delay there. Yay, digital world.
Okay, so here I am.
All right. Hi.
I am one of the people that has a MacBook Air 13-inch from 2013.
Okay.
I'm still running Big Sur
Okay.
and Safari and Chrome. I have also an older iPhone, a 6S,
Okay.
and I have an older printer, HB Envoy. So if I were to change any of them, and especially what you just said about, if you need to buy something, buy it now.
Mm-hmm.
If I change any of them, do I have to do all of them?
No.
I mean, like, what about the printer driver? You can't get old drivers. And
Correct. But a lot of the stuff has been kind of standardized. And if an old NV computer or an old NV printer, there are printer drivers for like 25 years back still. I can go and get my I just did a PhotoSmart from like 1997 on someone's Windows 11 machine. So we can do that. It can still work. And if you were to get a new Mac, you're on the same MacBook Air that I still use in my shop every day.
I know that too. That's why I feel comfortable calling you and asking you this.
Yeah, they're great machines, and and yes, you're starting to get some messages that security preferences probably aren't up to date, etc. I would highly recommend getting Firefox on your Mac. That will actually give you higher level security programs inside the browser. Firefox actually loads the security inside the browser rather than relying on the operating system to do a lot of the security stuff. So if you're on an older operating system, Firefox is a great browser to have. It just keeps you a little bit more protected. But you don't have to replace all the stuff. If your iPhone 6S was just marked onto I believe the obsolete list, so you're probably going to see some more stuff that's going to be kind of flowing through there. But no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to buy the iPhone and the MacBook and all that stuff. You would just do it at the time when you need it. I might go with the iPhone first. That might knock you out a little bit earlier, but might not. And you only have to wait until it kind of happens. But I'm just concerned. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's coming. And I've just... I'm not saying everything, everyone's needs to go buy refrigerators and fix all your stuff, but at the same time, I just want people to notice that, like, hey, if you've been kind of on the fence, maybe it might be time just to start moving towards that way because things might get a little pricey pretty quick.
Right. Well, Verizon has that big ad, you get a brand new iPhone for practically nothing. And one thinks to do that, but then I want to be able to still use this MacBook Air.
Yes, and you will be able to. You absolutely will be able to. The same way that I have a current day MacBook and I have a current iPhone 12 Pro Max iPhone, I still use my 2013 MacBook Air and still functions, yet it's still signed in with my Apple ID, etc. So I have new with the old as well.
And that would mean that Excel and my old Microsoft documents and Word documents, I would still be able to use and access.
Yes, and that will almost always be the case. We can always go back and read older stuff. It's harder when we take an older device and try to read newer stuff with it. But if you get a newer device, you can read things all the way back from Word 97 and beyond. Like, Lotus Works and Word Perfect back in the late 80s and early 90s. We can still read those files. So yes, you'll absolutely be able to read all your stuff. And even if you get onto a newer machine, you restore things, you go, oh my gosh, my Office is out of date. We can get you LibreOffice, which is completely free. That'll let you get on and read and write and save and do everything you can with Office. That's 100% free. That's on your new machine. That will read all the old stuff. So if you think you're, oh man, I'm going to get a computer, then I've got to buy all this extra software, we can get you by without doing that. If you have the hardware, we can get you in and get everything reading and working for a lot of times with the same software you have or some free stuff that we can use now that's just as good.
Very, very, very good. Thank you. And thank you for being there so much.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that you called, and thank you so much for the email. I appreciate you for listening. Thank you.
All righty. Bye.
Bye-bye. leaves the phone lines open up for you here at 831-900-5773. And actually, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go and listen to some of our amazing underwriters who allow KSQD to be here. If you have any interest in being an underwriter, info@ksqd.org, and fire it out and get your business on there. I actually need to renew mine for my business to get on here on KSQD. So don't go anywhere. This has been the Computer Man Show on KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQD 90.7 FM, online at ksqd.org. We're going to come up with the second half of the second half hour here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
KSQD is proud to be a part of Santa Cruz Gives, a community funding site that channels money toward local nonprofits like K-Squid. The more donations we get on the site, the more matching funds go to KSQD. Your contribution to K-Squid at Santa Cruz Gives can help us build a recording and podcasting studio for folks in Watsonville or bring new radio voices from our local community to the airwaves. Just click on santacruzgives.org/KSQD. And we'll thank you on the air. Every donor who gives over $100 gets a t-shirt, hat, or a K-Squid mug. Support K-Squid and support community. That's santacruzgives.org/KSQD.
My name is Luigi Opido, owner-operator of Pleasure Point Computers and the host of The Computer Man Show, a 1-hour call-in show Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Viruses, slowdowns, scams, and updates. Computers can be a pain, and I'll help you through it.
Send me an email with your request. If it's hardware you want, baby, I'm the best. I'm the computer.
If it has an on switch, we'll probably talk about it on The Computer Man Show Tuesdays at 6 p.m. only on KSQD 90.7 FM Santa Cruz.
Get into a computer. Hi, I'm Bobby Bishop, host of Be in the Night, bringing you the best I can with jazz, love songs, and soul. Join me on Tuesday evenings from 7 to 10 p.m., playing the classics straight ahead and introducing you to the latest artists and composers. That's Tuesday nights from 7 to 10 p.m. right here on listener-supported KSQD 90.7 FM, Santa Cruz.
Yes, and that's one of the best things to do is just let all this nonsense, all this computer nonsense ooze out of your ears, and jazz can help you do that. All you have to do is stick around with Bobby B and Be in the Night coming up at 7 o'clock here at KSQD and KSQD.org. We're going to get back here to the Computer Man Show here on KSQD.org, and we've got a caller waiting. Let's see what's going on in the real world. Hello, you're on with the Computer Man. How can I help you?
Yes, we wondered about the AI-powered drones. A friend of ours just built a $6 million house up on the beach.
Okay.
And they see 2 drones every evening. And we're thinking they've got the wherewithal and money to update their computer systems. I don't know what they have. Is there any way for a computer system in a house to contact these drones or identify them?
So, not necessarily. There is a way to receive signal from the drone. Like, drones usually work on a 2.4 gigahertz signal, which is kind of like, or they're on 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz, depending on what they are, but they're basically that basic Wi-Fi signal. Theoretically, you could snake that signal out of the air with some type of signal strength meter and find out where the person who's flying it is actually standing. That would be something more to be done.
They thought that was too advanced for our local authorities to have that kind of equipment. So they thought maybe it's not. I twisted their arm. It's not the authorities sending these up. But people here for 10 years up in Corralitos Hills have seen 1 or 2 drones.
Sure.
And they don't fly around for very long.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness they don't have armament or like spotlights or something on them. But some of the realtors used to do that.
Yeah.
Drone pictures.
Mm-hmm. And they have to have licenses for stuff like that now, because it's almost like a very low-level pilot's license you have to do if you're going to do any type of commercial drone stuff like that. So
yeah, we've seen them droning, horses running on the beach, and you have to have a certain skill to operate those things.
Absolutely. Do you know if these ones are they pretty? Can you get any idea of size? Are they like the really large ones, like the agricultural size ones? Or are they kind of the smaller?
No. We actually saw one of the military drones over here at the old airfield at Fort McQuaid.
Okay. And
they had trailers cordoning it all off, and here it came. It started with they're big,
Yeah.
looks like a bomb, with propellers on it.
Yeah.
The thing made quite a bit of sound taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said the Defense Department, or somebody, certainly not Fish and Game or the sheriff, had everybody cordoned off. No one could go over there to watch the takeoff because they said there was going to be, I guess, a DOD pursuit behind it to check its activity.
Wow.
And so then the thing was taking off with like 4 propellers on this big model airplane that a giant kid would build.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, as soon as it got like about over the treetop level, it became silent and went into some kind of, jet mode or something. I don't know.
Wow.
But it's a true fact. So I wish I considered myself an authority in how to contact a drone, with your own computer. But you gave me a couple of hints. I could tell my friends over here.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. A quick Google search to see what I haven't looked at the protocols this year or the last year or two, but the drones are using a very specific signal, and based on the FCC, you can't impede signal because I tried to make a device back in high school for that, and I got contacted by the FCC. So you can't do that. So the signals are out there. We should be able to grab them out of the air, and at that point, a lot of times you can do a signal strength meter and most likely find out at least a direction of where those people are. Now with that government stuff, that's some high level stuff.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but yeah, just mom and pop drones, and even they make. My brother actually worked for a pen testing company that actually made a gun that wasn't actually a gun, but it was a gun that would put out a huge amount of erroneous data that would basically drop a drone to the ground because it wasn't receiving signal from its home base anymore. So there's things like that too. So yeah, if you wanted to email me, Luigi at pleasurepointcomputers.com, I'd be happy to see if we could go there.
You to even people that have computer stores, and they say, they've never listened to your show and stuff.
Oh wow, okay.
There's a million of these little, put your sign out computer repair stores around.
Sure. Yep, I'd be happy to work with you if those keep bugging you. Maybe we can come up with something together. We can get a little signal detection meter going and see when they go up and see if we can find something.
I think your comments will go very far with this question.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for listening. And have a great night. Take care. Leaves the phone lines open for you here at 831-900-5773. We cover all sorts of stuff here. If it has an on switch on it, let's talk about it. And if I don't know much about it, like the drone stuff, I have a little private drone myself. I have one of those little DJI Mavics that I have hacked the firmware on. And so I think they're only supposed to go to 300, 400 feet or something like that. But you can mess with the firmware a little bit. And as long as you don't update it certain ways, you can make those drones go a little bit higher. Or maybe even park it on something that's a couple thousand feet up in the air, turn it off, turn it back on again, it's at 0, and then it goes another 1,000 feet up in the air. So there's always, it's all software, right? And if we can get around the software, we can make things do a lot of things they're not supposed to be doing. With signals coming out of the air with drones, a lot of the stuff is kind of on an endpoint to endpoint type of thing. So it should be a closed loop, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes you can see where those signals are coming from. So interesting question, interesting callers. Thank you so much for that call. And again, the phone number is 831-900-5773 if you'd like to join in the conversation. Okay, let's get out of that. Let's see, where are these my emails? This is not my emails. Let's get back to the email folder, which is literally a giant folder of emails. Wow. Okay, so this person, they said, that I see this a lot. One of the things I do when I go to people's homes is try to figure out where their bottleneck is. Why is their internet slow here, but it's not slow over here? Or maybe it's slow over here and it's not slow over here. So this person says the internet is limited to 100 megabits per second, and I have to restart the router. I have gigabit internet, but for some reason the router, after a period of time, will have a following issue. Sometimes the internet's lost for several seconds, then back on. Speed is capped at 100 megabits opposed to 1,000. Sometimes replugging the cable will do the job, but most of the time a reboot is a must. And I wonder if that's a reboot of the router or the end machine. Probably the router. They're using a TP-Link AX55 model. Ugh, I don't like TP-Link, but that's my personal preference. So, this says I switched to using Wi-Fi since my Maidbird also supported that. I noticed that the problem with the internet loss is gone. The cap speed problem only happens once or twice a month, but it's on my cable connection. It's like, okay. And if you've had this, and says the exact same problem with an Ethernet wired into the building, replugging the cable will usually get it back to 1,000, either on the switch or the wall port. Interesting. Okay, so it says that they've changed the cable between the switch and the wall port several times, no change. Very occasionally and randomly drops to 100. Change the cable from the PC to the switch, no change. Still very occasionally drops from randomly to 100. Change the actual hardware switch, a different brand, to the cable run from the router, no change, still the same. Change the cable run between the wall port and the router, no change, still very occasionally drops. Change the router itself to an Asus now, still randomly drops. So it's got to be the only thing that's left. I mean, the only thing that's left after that is the cable going from the wall to the router is bad some way. So, yeah, because I mean, if it's wired, your connection's only going to be as good as your weakest link. And especially, I mean, even you can look at a cable and sometimes you just move it the wrong way and it dies. I see that most often, always. I'll go into a closet and say, I'm not getting any connection on this port. I'm like, okay, the cable looks good. I pull the cable out. It tests fine. But then I move the cable and the cable completely dies. And it could be something like that. So it's got to be that cable going from the wall port to the router in some way. So especially if it's on Wi-Fi and it goes completely back and it doesn't do that, it's got to be a wired connection. It's got to be that. So that troubleshooting sucks. And it is not fun in any way. And I hope you're getting paid for it because it's slow going, man. That stuff can be really frustrating when you're trying to find out a hole in the network like that, especially with something intermittent because you can't always find it. You have to wait for it to happen and then look. And then you have to wait for it to happen again and then look. And then you change something and wait for it to happen. And then it doesn't happen. You're like, oh, I fixed it. And 2 weeks later it happens. You go, ugh, I didn't fix it. So that can be very frustrating. All right, external monitor is detected but shows no display. So I'm facing a problem with my second monitor. I'm using a Windows 10 64-bit laptop, AOC monitor with a VGA socket. Oh. And I'm using a VGA to HDMI converter in between. Ooh. Okay, I understand, but that sucks. Okay, so I've been using a converter without problem, but one day the screen was black. Monitor was working, laptop detects the monitor. I can move my cursor to the other monitor, but I can't see it. So we mentioned some resolution stuff, messed with the resolutions, that didn't work, refresh rate, etc. Settings on the Windows display, settings, nothing. Tried to connect the laptop to my TV monitor with just an HDMI cable, and it works. So the computer's obviously outputting, so that's good. So it's got to be something inside the monitor, and the cable's fine too. To check to see if the converter is working, I tried my sister's laptop on the setup with the HDMI VGA converter on my monitor, but my sister's laptop works without a problem. And then I went on and bought a brand new HDMI to VGA converter anyway and tried it with my laptop, not working. So as you can see, I'm struggling to find out which part is faulty. I was expecting that the VGA cable was bad, but again, the same cable and converter on my sister's laptop works fine. So I'd be curious if it's the port on the screen or that monitor or whatever. When your computer's on and you have it running and it's plugged in and it's on, if you shine a flashlight, if you literally shine a flashlight at the screen and move the mouse around, can you see the mouse moving at all? Like the backlight isn't firing. Can you see anything like that? Because it doesn't say anything about a backlight. I don't think it is, but that could be worked. And they said, well, it's working with another laptop. Tried my sister's, it's working just fine. So okay, do you have any other monitors that you can use? At this point, I mean, that is. And, instead of this second 9-year-old monitor, can you borrow another monitor to test with to see if that comes out? That would be my next thing. If you get another monitor and you plug that in out of your computer and it still doesn't work, then there's some type of translation that your computer's putting out that's not coming through, right? If it does work on the other monitor, then we know that monitor has a problem with whatever. And it's all about that transcription, that handshake from the cable to your machine. So if that handshake comes, then you get display. If it doesn't happen, nothing happens. So and you're right there, right? You just need to get another monitor and see if it works on your machine with that exact same thing and see if it goes. But until we find that out, we don't know. But it's just, again, you can see the process of just minimizing down to that single part, to that single thing that might be happening. Okay, another one. My mom got a strange, untranslatable text message from herself. Oh, from herself. That's what it says. My mom is on a prepaid phone plan. When she needs to top up, she gets texts. She'll get texts from herself reminding her to do so. Today, she got a message from herself that appears to be in Chinese, which is already odd because we're in Canada and her phone is provided owner. And the phone provider is owned by the provincial government. Okay. We tried to run it through Google Translate. It only translated a few words and none of them gave us an idea what it was about. And it says, here's the contents of the message, and there's the message. I don't have any guess of what it could possibly be. So I also did the same thing. I highlighted it, copied it, put it into a Chinese translation matrix or a Mandarin translation matrix. And I saw a couple things that came out that looks like a carrier message. It looks like when you send a text message and something happens, it doesn't go out that right, but it doesn't say. We used to get a message saying, "Hey, that message doesn't exist," or the phone number doesn't exist. You actually get like a carrier message that comes back, and we used to do that. But now it just says our phones are smart enough to say "not delivered." Right? It'll just have a little red eye on it, or it'll just say "not delivered" completely. So it looks like it looks like the message had a problem encoding, and it came back. But the carrier probably just messed up sending an automated text to you. So it might have been maybe that phone was on another server before and it did get switched. And when it got sent automated, it looked to see what language to set it at and it set it to Mandarin rather than English, something like that. But most likely it was just a flub and on you go. So I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, next one. My internet speed is capped at 100 megabits per second. If I use a cable, but if I connect it to another one, it somehow transmits to 700. I can understand a cable bottleneck, but how does putting a middleman, a switch with its own cable, allow the first cable to move at 700 megabits per second? This is like dark voodoo magic. Yeah, I agree. Same to the Ethernet port on my PC. When I connected the old cable from the router to the PC directly, caps at 100. When I direct connect it to a switch and then connect the switch to my PC for another cable, it gets 600 to 700. I've tested with a speed test and then tested by downloading a game, and the results show the same problem. If the cable's only capable of 100 megabits per second, it shouldn't be able to move 700 to my switch. Okay, so I wrote this person back a little bit and got some more information and checked some adapter settings, power save options, that kind of stuff. And also there's a negotiation. You can set it to gigabit as well. Gigabit is the 1,000 rate opposed to 100 rate. And none of that stuff worked. But we started talking about it. And again, the cable was damaged. The cable was damaged. It was a bad cable. So it was a cable. So there's a negotiation problem between the bad cable and the unit. So he says he's going to have an electrician come out and put a new cable in there. Obviously, this isn't the one in Canada, was it? But nowhere near town, so I can't go out and just put an end on it because we do that. We can just cut the end off, put a brand new end on it with 568A, 568B, the protocol for where it goes white, orange, white, green, blue, green, white, brown. And then you just have that the same on both sides, put the ends on it, crimp it down, boom, you got yourself a network cable. And so for something like this, check the protocols on the other end, see what it looks like, come back to the other side, put the correct end on it, and you've got a brand new cable, theoretically, as long as there's not like condensation or garbage down the line. But again, a bad cable giving crazy things, weird, erroneous signals, etc. So bad cable, again. Okay, computer won't post after freezing. It's been a reoccurring issue, and I've decided it's just time for help. It used to be that my PC was bumped, it would freeze. Oh, I hate that. I used to have a machine like that. I just used to be able to restart it, kind of turn on, but after being bumped, it would freeze and then no post. I have to reseat my GPU, my graphics card, to fix that problem. Now it freezes randomly and randomly decides to work again. For the past hour, I've been trying to figure out how to fix it. I've tried moving around my RAM sticks, reseating my GPU. That's about it. I don't really know what else to do. Also, note I'm not a computer experienced technician. My dad was the one who made the PC for me, and he's the PC nerd. The freeze came when I was watching YouTube and downloading a new game off of Steam. I can tell when it doesn't post. I have RGB fans and RAM sticks. The RAM sticks glow, but when it doesn't post, the fans won't glow, and there will be no display on the monitor. Okay, so you know when it's not posting because we don't have post beeps anymore. Power on self-test, that beep before you see stuff on the screen, that's not cool. So we don't have speakers in computers anymore. People don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear the beep. So we've moved on from that. So now that's another way to test if you have post. Post will allow you to know if everything's routing through the board properly. That's the power on self-test. Okay, first of all, power cable, level 1 connections here. Is the power cable securely attached? If it's loose, that might do it, right? Or especially if you plug it into your power supply and it kind of wiggles while it's plugged in there, get another cable. It needs to be nice and tight and kind of gripping onto the cable when you plug it in. But if it is secure, try disconnecting the power cable, hold down your power button for 15 seconds, and then reconnect it and see if it comes back. Sometimes there's something caught in some capacitor somewhere that's holding on to something that's not letting go, that then people have all these problems with their computers, they unplug them, bring them down to me, I can't find the problem, because the problem needed to be just to unplug the machine from the wall and let it drain out that residual power that you never let it do because we're sitting at home plugged into power all the time. And then they come to my shop and I magically fix it by doing nothing. because I got unplugged, and it was fixed when it got unplugged, right? So if the unplug, plug it back in doesn't work, of course, that's always standard, right? If that doesn't work, remove all the RAM sticks and try booting the PC with just a single stick of RAM in the first slot. The first slot, whatever that would be, A1, B1, A2, B2, wherever your laptop or your motherboard manufacturer says, plug it into that slot. See if it gets just with one. I see a lot of machines coming to my shop with 4 sticks of RAM, 6 sticks of RAM, and like, it's not booting. I go, okay. And we'll pull. The first thing we do besides making sure the power supply is good is pulling all the RAM out of it and putting 1 stick in. Because you don't want to confuse everything with all these sticks of memory. That's a lot of memory to go through. Put 1 in, make sure that's not the problem. If you put 1 stick of memory in and all of a sudden your problem goes away, add another, and then see if when that kicks up. And then if you still have a problem, then take the good memory stick out of the first slot and swap it and put it into the other slot and see if you still have the issue. Scientific method, 1 step at a time. It's tedious, but it's important. So moving along, let's see. If it won't post for any of those sticks, you may have an issue with a different component. Of course, then you have to open up the PC, make sure everything's all securely. The fact that when you bumped it, it's having a problem, that would be just me going in and moving. And you don't have to move it a lot. I literally would grab the cables and move them just to see if they wiggle, right? I don't want to disturb much of anything else. I don't want to start cranking on stuff and pulling on cables. I just want to see what's loose. And everything should be pretty tight in there. Shouldn't be loose. But, it'd be interesting to see when you power on if the fan starts spinning and then turn off, or if they just don't turn on at all. Yeah, so good questions. Okay, so again, with some of these, I don't really get the answers because I need to have more information or et cetera. So I know some of this is a little bit anticlimactic, but at the same time, also, there's a lot of process in it, and that's what I really read these to everyone for. I want to make sure that when people are listening, they kind of see my process. How am I attacking the problem? Where am I going first? And so that way, when you, the end user, have a problem with your machine, and you go, well, what would I do with it? You might have an idea, and might not have to call me as quick. Or maybe you can figure it out by just unplugging and plugging back in and get it going again because of some weird little issue. And that's the power I want to put into your hands. It would be lovely as if someday all of a sudden my business just goes to zero because everyone can fix things because they've all learned. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So I accidentally wiped my hard drive completely. I have an IdeaPad 1 15ALC7. That's a Lenovo. I used an eraser software to wipe my hard drive clean and choose the biggest erasure option. Now when I turn my laptop on, I get stuck at the IdeaPad start menu for info, config, security, and boot. And my hard drive name is set to Samsung with random letters and random numbers behind it. Before it is showed as SSD with random letters and numbers behind it, but I can't proceed past this menu, and I'm really stressed. I've taken away the ability to use my laptop. Okay. This one is... your answer is in it. I accidentally wiped my hard drive completely. It's wiped. Now we need to reinstall Windows. So the best thing you can do, if you have a friend's machine or a library machine even, jump on another machine that has internet access and search for the Media Creation Tool from Microsoft. Media Creation Tool will take you to the Windows 10, Windows 11 Media Creation Tool page, and you can download a version of, it's a small file that will then run a program that will ask you to put a flash drive in and actually put a bootable version of Windows onto a flash drive. As long as you own the flash drive, it's 100% free. As soon as you have the flash drive done and created, unplug it from that machine, plug it into your new machine, and when you turn on the computer, it should boot to that as a default. If it doesn't, you might have to point it to boot to the actual flash drive. But if you do that, then the machine will boot up and you'll actually put an operating system on, and then the machine will be pretty much usable again. You probably have a couple more steps to go, but it will be usable again based on the operating system because you did it. You wiped the operating system, and that's what you did. So, and that makes sense. But now you need to reinstall Windows. Okay, so the next one, my D drive has issues after waking up from sleep. Okay. I'm going to stop you right there. So D drive, not the main machine, not the C drive, but the D drive. The D drive has a hard time waking up from sleep. One of the first things I'm going to think of is you probably have power settings set up so that the hard drive turns off after a certain amount of time or shuts down, which I don't like happening. But anyway, some files won't run. Check disk shows as raw. Doesn't show up in Crystal Mark. Rebooting fixes. Oh my gosh. Says I'm having an issue with my D drive, solid state drive, which is primarily used for game storage. Okay. When I wake my PC up from sleep, I sometimes not able to launch apps that are installed on it. like BNet or Steam. It also stops showing up in software such as Crystal Mark, so it probably doesn't show up in the C drive or any of that kind of stuff. If I reboot or restart the computer, software in the drive seems to function normally, such as showing up as check disk or Crystal Mark as a solid-state drive. When I restart and check Crystal Mark, my drive health is shown as 99%. There's a 0 critical warning, 0 data integrity errors, blah, 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 blah. It's a Kingston drive, this and that. Okay. First, we can upgrade drivers, we can do this stuff. You're putting your computer to sleep. Sleep sucks. I like sleep as a human, but sleep sucks on a computer. What does sleep do? Okay, so you have RAM, right? You have all your sticks of RAM. Your RAM is cooking along. If you take a stick of RAM and use it without power, does it do anything? No. RAM needs power. It needs electricity. So what you're doing is you're taking your RAM, you're using your computer, and you're like, I want it to go to sleep. You hit the sleep button. It will then open up the drains at the bottom of the RAM and drain all the memory allocation tables into a specific file. Okay? Then that file gets stored and saved. The computer goes to sleep. When you come back from sleep, it wakes up, it takes those files and force feeds the data up into the RAM. And I'm going to say it like that. And it force feeds the data up into the RAM. Up in it. Like up in it. And when you do that 2 or 3 times, the RAM gets sad. It does not like it very much. And some of that stuff gets lost in that back and forth. And if it's lost, the machine won't work properly. And a lot of times with sleep, it also will turn off certain features, turn off certain drives, turn off things like that, especially like a secondary drive, like a D drive. And it won't come back. And then when you restart, everything's restarted because it's nice and restarted. Sleep sucks. Sleep is not a great thing. If you have a solid state drive and stuff, I would just turn the monitor off and leave the computer on, or shut the computer down. Don't put it to sleep. Sleep is not going to help you. Sleep I use sleep very rarely. If I shut the machine down, I have to go to the next room and open it back up, I'll use sleep. But I'll keep in mind, I've put my computer to sleep because most of the times I have to restart it because some piece of software doesn't load properly because sleep sucks. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, you can update drivers. Yeah, you can update the chipset and all this. No, I think it's just sleep. You could be fighting this till you're blue in the face. Also, you can go in and turn off the sleep settings of your drives and make sure that the drive does not shut off and does not power down after a little bit. But I almost guarantee it's something in sleep that's stopping it, and that's why when you restart, everything's fine. So I would just disable the sleep feature, turn off your monitor after 20 minutes or so, and leave the computer on, or shut the computer off when you're done using it. And that most likely will solve that problem. We could go into further things and like I said, sleep issues, power routing issues. There might be something on when the computer goes to sleep that it's not putting power out to everything 100%. It could be something like that. It could be a setting. Most likely it's just a sleep feature doing what it does, which is kind of sucking. So. Okay, well, we've reached the end of another Computer Man show. Awesome callers tonight, everyone. If you want to call me next time, 831-900-5773. Write down that phone number for next time. If I missed your call tonight, you can always reach me by email, Luigi, Luigi, at ksqd.org. Remember to tune into the Computer Man show Tuesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. here on 90.7 FM, K-Squid, KSQD. I'd like to thank my listeners and my callers. Thank you, KSQD, Sandy Stone, Helen Fredstein, Rachel Dibbin, Kevin Kubrick, John Sandage, all Santa Cruz, Nick Tesla, the Woz, Mr. Casey, Torvalds, and of course, the humble Electron. Thank you again, Santa Cruz. I am your Computer Man here on KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, and online at ksqd.org. Stay tuned for Be in the Night. I hope you all have a positively charged evening. Until next time.
I am the Computer Man. I can do anything you can. I am the Computer Man. I can do anything you can. Computer Man, he is your friend. He gonna help you again and again. So if you have a question or two, he's got the answer just for you. I am the Computer Man, and I am ready for questions now, thank you.
Mr. Computer Man, how much is 2 plus 2?
4.
Mr. Computer Man, how do you spell cat?
C-A-T.
Mr. Computer Man, how do you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
With letters. I am the Computer Man. I can do anything you can. I am the computer man. I can do anything you can. Computer man is very wise. He speaks the truth, he never lies. So if there's something you don't understand, just ask the computer man.
Hi, Mr. Computer Man. My name is Jenny. I have a question for you.
Wait, Jenny does not compute. What is your number, please?
Number? I don't have a number. I'm a person.
A person? A person?